You know, a couple of weeks ago we had a look at this book, you might remember it, The Cult of Violence, and revisiting it again, I found some points in there which I'd like to bring up in this very short extract that I'm going to look at here. So if I have your permission, perhaps I can do this. Now, if you remember last time, we looked at Mr. Charles Cray. Now, Charles Cray isn't the brother, but he's the father of the Crays. And you may remember that one of the pictures we panned in on, he looked like Humphrey Bogart's brother. You can see him there. And I was very touched when I read about him later on, because he met the author one morning to go down to the Isle of Wight to visit Reg in prison. There's Reg there, you can see, looking very dapper, and there's scowling Ron, of course. And on the train down, he says that, just a little quote here if I can say. So I'll tell you something, that Ronnie was definitely mad and he made life hell for me. This is the father speaking. He said, half the time I had to hold my tongue or I'd escape to the country where things got too bad at home. All three of them have given me a slap in their time. I even had Reg frothing at the mouth against me, but she never minded what they did as long as they were her boys and on her side. And I thought, how sad that these boys who'd been brought up with a religious education could pick on this small man who looks about 5'1", and they did have a religious education. As we said last time, they went to the local church, they saw Father Hetherington. Do you remember the headmaster, Mr. Evans, who drummed the Bible into them, particularly the passage from Isaiah? These men would have known the Ten Commandments, and I'm sure Ron would have known the Ten Commandments too. And what does one of the commandments say? Honour thy father and thy mother. And that's something neither these boys or their brother Charlie did. I thought it was a scandal they didn't know that, and that they went ahead in this bullying aspect. Now I want to touch on something else here. If you remember at the time, we looked on the religious side of Reg, and Reg seems to have gone into religion perhaps in a bigger way than the rest of them. But I want to look at something here just before he died. And this is the section of the book, it's in 27, and these are the words of Dr. Ken Stallard, the Free Church minister from Oxfordshire, who had officiated the marriage of Reg and Roberta, so obviously ordained that he can do the wedding and so forth. Don't know who ordained him, but that's another thing there. And he says here that he went to visit Reg when he was very ill, he was on his deathbed, and he says that's what he says. I want to be like you, Ken, Reg told me as I held his hand. Remember, Reg is dying now of cancer, he's obviously clearing the decks and so forth. I want to be a Christian, but don't tell anyone until I'm gone. I don't want anyone to think I've become a Christian just to get parole. Now, I don't know about that, but that smacks to me that Christ is being smacked in the face here. Because doesn't the Lord say in the Bible, whosoever confesseth me before men, him will I confess before my Father who is in heaven. But whosoever denieth me before men, him will I deny before my Father in heaven. And Reg certainly is denying the Lord here. It's almost as if he's playing the track here. He's putting options on the table. He's, I'll have that one, and I'll have that one, have that. And the sad thing to me is that this Dr. Ken doesn't seem to pick him up on it. He seems to go along and says, never, never give in, he says here. Don't worry about it. Very strange, I thought. And it's also very strange, I thought, in another section that I found here where at the funeral of, a lot of funerals in this book, all the brothers and so forth. Just one quick thing on Charles Cray, the father. In prison you have to get permission, whatever you want to do, whether it's to visit or have someone visit you or go out on a home visit or something like that. And of course when Vi Cray died, she was 72 when she died of cancer, the twins put in permission to go to the funeral. I think Ron may have been dead, and I'm not sure. But of course they got permission to go to the funeral. When the father died, no one put any permission to go to his funeral. Isn't that sad? Nobody went there at all. So the thing is that these men, through the priest, the parish priest, Father Hetherington, through Mr. Evans, the headmaster, through all of these ministers who came there, Lord Longford, all sorts of people, all knew the biblical aspect, and all of them had a conscience of what they were doing. And yet at the end, you can find no remorse for any of this at all. So I just wanted to highlight that. And I think perhaps I might have been a little bit hard on the twins' homosexuality. And don't forget, this is the author suggests this here, the homosexuality of both the twins. Homosexuality is just one sin of the flesh, be it adultery, gambling, pornography, any of it. None of these people who commit these sins will see the gift and the beauty of heaven. All of them, according to the book of Revelation, will find that they will be domiciled to the lake of fire. I'm not picking on homosexuals, I'm as condemning of adulterers or any of these people with its pornography, whatever it is. It just so happens that these men were into homosexuality, as long as a lot of other sins as well. So I just wanted to highlight some of the things, the treatment of Charles Cray, the fact that Reg didn't want anybody to now become a Christian because it might affect parole, but I think he was perhaps a little bit embarrassed. Sad story, but you can see this is what happens when men become gods themselves. So from this ministry, we'll try and find some more unusual books like this. As always, keep watching. Thank you, and Maranatha.